In today's tutorial, let's do the Ripples in the Sand crochet afghan. This is a brand new yarn featuring Bernat Maker Home Dec. Let's begin right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to do the Ripples in the Sand crochet afghan featuring the Bernat Maker Home Dec. And this is an amazing new yarn, and this is really kind of cool. We're going to take a closer look at this yarn, and we're also going to do this project at the same time. So let's take a look at this yarn. You're going to notice when you look at the cross section of it, it's like a round tube of material, and it's kind of stuffed in the middle, and it's 72% cotton and 28% nylon. It does have some stretch to it, so when you're working with this project, you will notice that all your projects will have a beautiful drape to it as a result. And this is kind of looks like it's knit on the outside. It's kind of like a loom knit kind of idea, and it's a really kind of a neat thing. It's like a cord, but it's not, and it's certainly exceptionally soft. So let's dive a little bit into the project now. Let's take a look at the diagram because that's available, and let's decipher what's going on in today's pattern. So here's the diagram that we're looking at today, and you're going to notice that it's a wave. It's doing in multiples of chevrons, and so this is one chevron here, this is another, and this is a smaller version of what you're going to be doing, but it's showing you that there is a repeat pattern on here. So when I have to figure out the multiples, I always kind of just write on my pattern. So I figured there was 11 stitches on this side of the chevron, 11 on the other. That makes it chevron is 22. So it's multiples of 22 to make one chevron. So each one of these are made up of 22. There's only 2 that you see here on screen. And then at the very end you have to add on extra stitches. So there's an extra 4 stitches here to bring it back in balance, and then there's an extra 1 stitch over here. So when you're doing this, as long as you keep it in multiples of 22, so I would count all the way from 1 to 22, decide if it's bigger enough. If not, keep going 1 to 22 again, make that same decision if it's big enough or not, and keep doing that. And then when you're satisfied with the length of your chain, just add 5 at the very end. So it's multiples of 22 plus 5. For my own purposes, and because I don't like to lose count when I'm doing these kind of things, I figured out that there was 8 standalone stitches in rows number 1 and 3. So when you have double crochets that are standing by themselves, so they're not linked to an edge here, they're not linked to the middle, so there's 8 that stand by themselves. It makes it easier to be able to count as you go. And then I figured out that there is 3 standalone in rows number 2 and 4. So this is row 2 here. See, there's 1, 2, 3 that stand by itself. This one's linked with that one. This one's linked with there. So when I figured that out, it's just a lot easier to count as you're going along in your particular pattern than it is to kind of like sometimes really have to massively count. So if you can break any kind of patterns down into bite-sized pieces, it's a lot easier. So without further ado, let's determine what we're going to need for yarn today. We're going to need 7 balls of the Bernat Décor. Sorry, this is the brand new yarn, so I'm kind of stumbling on the name. So it's the Bernat Maker Home Dec, and you're going to need a total of 7 of these balls. These are going to be a very generous size afghan of 56 inches by 60 inches long, and I think that you'll really love it, and it just goes through your hand like butter. It's amazing. So you're also going to need a nail, 8mm size crochet hook today. So it's a big hook, big ball, and let's get started. And just one last thing before I forget, this is my sample that I did when I was somewhere waiting for Daniel, and so you can see that this is what it looks like here, and one row is completely solid through and the other one has the breaking spaces, and that's what makes this one really quite unique. So let's begin now. So let's begin by creating a slip knot, and if you'd like to do exactly what the pattern is asking you to do, your chain is going to be 181. If you would like to customize it and make this a different size, do in multiples of 22 like I'm going to. I'm going to do it just a smaller sample, and so I'm going to do mine in multiples of 22. So either way you can decide. Remember that the slip knot on the hook never counts as 1. So I'm just going to do my multiples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Or sorry, I want to go to 22. So I want to state this is what 22 looks like. Okay, so it's a generous size. So this afghan is going to go pretty quick. So I'm not, that's only 1 chevron. I'm going to do 2 just to make it more interesting. So let me do this again. So I'm going to count from 1 to 22 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So there is another multiple of 22. So I'm gonna make this my sample for today, but again you can go bigger if you want to. Just keep it multiples of 22. When you're satisfied with the length of the chain and you're customizing it like I am, you're gonna have to add 5 at the very end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this will bring it all completely back in balance when you're ready to go. Let's continue to do the setup row, which is row number 1. Let's get this all set up now. So let's begin row number 1. First of all I want to go to the 5th chain of the hook. So just coming up underneath the hook there's 1, so I want to go to the 5th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn this chain over and get the back loop only of it, and I want you to double crochet. Now when I was talking to you in the very beginning of this tutorial, I told you that I figured out that there was 8 standalone double crochets before it hits anything. So these are considered together. So you can see in the pattern it also says double crochet in each of the next 8 chains. So these are the 8 standalone. So I'm gonna count these out, so just continue. So 1 double crochet and then continue just down the back hump only. This is 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. So the 8 then are standing by themselves. So we're actually in fact going in a downward position. You just cannot notice it yet, but I'm telling you it is, because it is. And so you're going to just look at the pattern, you'll see that it is going in a downward position. So now what we want to do is we want to put 3 double crochet together in, and what we have to do is we have to come into the very next stitch and watch what I'm about to do. So I'm gonna wrap the hook and I'm gonna come into the next stitch and I'm gonna put my hook in, pull through 2 and hold. Keep that on your hook. I want you to skip the next chain and go to the next one over. So go to the second one over and continue to go and gather these. So just like it's together as well. Okay? And then skip the next chain and go to the second over for the last one. And what we're doing is we're doing 3 double crochet together. So here's your 3. You're gonna have 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all of those. So we're gonna come up now the other side of this. So this is the bottom. So we've gone in the downward position and now we're at the bottom. So now the next 8 will be by themselves. So 8 double crochets in the next chains. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 and 8. So there is now 8 double crochet standing by itself. So now that we've done that, this is when it gets interesting. The next stitch is going to be 1 double crochet in, but it's a little more to it. So it's 1 complete double crochet plus we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3 and double crochet back into that same chain. This is the very top of a chevron. Okay? So you see that you've kind of gone down, you've then kind of gone back up, and now you're at the top. So the next 8 in a row are all going to be 1 double crochet each. So the next 8. And you're gonna keep going down your chain just like this. Okay, your chain will obviously be a lot longer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5, 6 and 7 and 8. So there's your 8 standalone, and now you've gone in the downward position, and now we have to do exactly what you did over here. Okay, just right where my finger's wiggling. So do you remember what we did with that? So we went into the next one and we're gonna do 3 together. So we went into the next one and we went in but we didn't finish it. Okay, it's a together stitch. Then we skipped 1 and then we double crocheted as a together into the next one after that. So just skip 1 and go to the next one, and we're gathering our stitches, don't forget, skipping the next one and then double crocheting into the next one after that. Okay, so it's 3 together. You just got to make sure you skip over the appropriate stitches, pull through all 4 loops, and then let's begin to go back up the hill. So let's go up. There's gonna be 8 in a row. So 1, so this will be what the ending looks like for you once you get to all the way to the other side. So 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you are going to notice that there's going to be 1 stitch left over when you get all the way to the other side, and that is your final one. And in the final, what you have to do is you have to do 1 double crochet into the final, chain 1, and 1 double crochet back into that same stitch. So that's how you end your line. So what you've done now in this particular example, we've gone up and down just like it shows in the diagram, and now we're ready for row number 2, which is a repeat pattern. So rows 2 and 3 now carrying on is the remainder of this complete afghan on how you're gonna do it. Let's move along to row number 2. As we move up to row number 2, you're gonna notice back on the diagram, so we're gonna chain up 4, and you can see that we're gonna double crochet into the gapping space of the chain 1, and then we're gonna start skipping over stitches as we go in order to get to the middle. What I get confused with the most is right on number 2, right here with these 3 to come together. See what happens on this round here, 3 come together as 1, and in this one here we have to skip over, and these 3 are just standing by themselves. And so it kinda gets confusing on which one to do at the time, so you just gotta watch for that. That's where I went wrong when I had to frog a few times. So just watch these. They're not the same, and because of that they have a really interesting look, but you can't have Rome built in a day. So it's one of those items that makes the afghan look amazing. So starting on the diagram, row number 2, this is a repeat pattern. Every time you get to row 2, this is exactly what you're gonna do. You're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the rules of crochet this counted as a double crochet / chain 1. So the 1 extra is kind of like leaning over. So the first one is gonna be in the chain 1 gap right below it. So just go right into a space and double crochet, and then chain 1. You're gonna skip the next double crochet and double crochet into the next one, followed by a chain 1. Skip the next double crochet and go into the next one after that for another double crochet, then chain 1. Skip the next double crochet and double crochet into the next one. Now if you remember when I talked about this in the very first pattern, I told you that there was 3 standalone double crochets. Well, here they are, 1, 2, and 3, and if you can remember that, it makes this a lot easier. So now just chain 1, and now we're gonna deal with the very bottom section. You're thinking to yourself, whoa, you're really not close to that bottom area over here, but you have to trust in this pattern. So you're gonna skip the next one and double crochet into the next one after that. Okay, you're not gonna chain 1 this time, and you are going to then jump over and skip 1 stitch and go to the next one, and then you're gonna skip 1 stitch and then double crochet into the next. So whenever you're at the bottom, that's exactly what you have to do. Okay, so we have our 3 double crochets we skipped here, but there's no extra chains at the top. So now to go up the other side, we chain 1 and then we skip 1 stitch and go to the second one over, and we carry up going up that way as well. So chain 1, skip 1 stitch, go to the next, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and go to the next one. So there is your 3 that are standing by themselves. So 1, 2, and 3. These are kind of working together. So what we want to do is when we get to this point here, we want to play within this space here. So we chain 1 first, and then we double crochet right into this chain 3 space, and then we add chaining of 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and then double crochet back into that same space. And now we're gonna work in the downward motion like we did way back over here. So here's how we're gonna start. So we're gonna chain up one first. So chain one and then skip the next one and go to the second one over for a double crochet. So there's one that's standing by itself. Chain one, skip one, double crochet in the next. Then chain one, skip one, chain, double crochet into the next. So there is your three that are standing by themselves. So 1, 2 and 3, and now we're gonna deal with the bottom. This is when I got confused the most because it doesn't look like the bottom is that close, but it really does work. So chain one first to begin, skip one and double crochet into the next. Skip one stitch and double crochet to the second one over. So completely do the double crochet. Skip one and then double crochet into the next. And there is the base of your next chevron. Right there. So let's go back up the other side. So you're gonna go back up and down doing the same thing, and now let's go back up and do the final row here, the final edge. So we're gonna chain up one and then skip one, double crochet into the next, chain one, skip one, double crochet in the next, chain one, skip one and double crochet in the next. Okay, so there is your three stand alone. So 1, 2 and 3, chain one, and on the very edge you're gonna just come right into the actual stitch itself. Okay, just in the actual stitch itself. Number, this is the third one up, and you're going to double crochet, chain one and double crochet into that same stitch. Now that I've done this twice now, this wasn't as hard as it was the first time I went through this. I think it's because I understand the pattern better, but it's just a matter of getting used to it. So I think that's what my hang up was. So let's move up to row number 3, which is the next one of the repeat. So rows 2, which is this, which we'll review one more time after this, and let's go to row number 3. So in row number 3 we're going to chain up 4, which counts as the double crochet slash chain one, and then we're gonna start our double crochets in this chain one space here. And remember how many that we have alone? We have 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then the middle 3, which is that one that is right here. Okay, these 3 are gonna be put together as one. So 3 together as one, and then we're gonna go up the other side. So let's begin to do that next. So let's begin. We're gonna chain up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that counted as a double crochet plus chain one, and we want to put a double crochet right into the chain one space right here, the very first one. And now we're gonna work our way down. So now we're gonna move down to this section here. We're gonna keep everything solid. Remember that there is 8 double crochets that stand by itself. So that what's gonna happen here is that you're gonna use the stitches when you're on top of stitches, and you're gonna use the chain one spaces when you're on top of those. The trick is to make sure you have 8. So the first one is gonna start off in a stitch. I'm gonna count these as I go. So 1, next one's in a space for 2, next one's in a stitch for 3, next one's in a stitch for 4, next one's in a stitch for 5, next one's in a stitch for 6, or sorry, is in a space for 6, next one's in a stitch for 7, and the final one is in a space. Okay, and it's in the last space before these 3 are together, like you see them, that they're just working side by side, and it's the last one. Okay, so that makes it easy to remember. So these 3 that are in the middle, which is your next one, are gonna be together. So you're just gonna wrap the hook going in, pull through 2 and hold, wrap the hook going into the next one, pull through 2 and hold, wrap going into the next one, pull through 2 and hold, and then you're just gonna pull through all 4 loops. So now you're gonna work up, and you're gonna go in the upward motion. You see how you got that going now? So let's go in the upward motion. The first one is right into a chain one space first. And now you're gonna count 8 going up in the other direction. So 1, next one's in a stitch for 2, space for 3, which is the next one, stitch for 4, stitch for or space for 5, stitch for 6, space for 7, and the last one, the 8th one, is right into the last double crochet that you have before the chain 3. So the next one, what we're gonna do is that we're just gonna put an extra double crochet right into the chain 3 there. So 1, and then we're gonna follow it by a chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then come back into that chain 3 space for another double crochet. So the advantage to this one is that whenever you're in the upper motion, they're always the same. They're always gonna be a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet, no matter which row that you're on. So now we're gonna work 8 going down. The first one will be right into the first double crochet that you have. So that's 1. The next one is a space for 2. Next one's 3 for a stitch. 4 is in a space. 5 is in a stitch. 6 is in a space. 7 is in a stitch. And then the 8th is in a space. And this space, again like it was before, is just right before the 3 are in a row. These 3 are gonna be together again just like they were before, so just wrap the hook, pull through 2 and hold, and gather them and make them into 1 stitch. So it's 3 together. Once you're satisfied with that, you pull through all 4 and then you work your way up. So you're gonna go up and down in the same motion. This is row number 3, and when you get to the other side, when you have just this piece left, this is how we're gonna do it. So we're gonna go right into the chain 1 space first and count up 8. So 1, stitch is for 2, space is for 3, stitch is for 4, space is for 5, stitch is for 6, space is for 7, and then finally the last double crochet is your 8th. And now you're ready for the very final on this one here. So the very last chain 1 space here, the third chain up is going to be a double crochet followed by chain 1 and double crochet all into the same stitch. So that would be how you would conclude this, and you can see that it's got the spacing and now it's got solid. So now we have to go back to row number 2 and do that again. So it's rows 2 and 3, just keep repeating. I'm gonna repeat that one more time just to get you started to make sure that you're okay, and then just review this row one more last time, and then this tutorial is quits for today. So let's turn our work and go for row number 2. So in row number 2, just like it was before, we started off with chaining of 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we came to the chain 1 space that's in the first section right here, and we did a double crochet. We then did a chain 1, and we are going to skip over the first double crochet and go to the second one over, and we're gonna do this going down. There's gonna be 3 standalone double crochets if you remember. Then chain 1, skip the next one and go to the next for a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1 and double crochet into the next. So there is your 3 standalone double crochets. So now we're gonna chain 1 and we're gonna start going along the bottom here. So we skip 1 and wrap the hook first, we double crochet into the next, and we completely do that one. We skip 1 and go to the next one for a complete double crochet. We skip 1 and then double crochet into the next. So the 3 are now in the bottom, and now we're starting to go up the other side. So we chain up 1, skip the next one, and we're double crocheting in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. Chain 1, double crochet in the next. And now what we're going to do is just chain 1, and our next one is right into this chain 3 space. So we're gonna double crochet, and then remember what I said before. So whenever in the top of the chevron, it's always a double crochet, chain 3 and double crochet into the same space. So let's begin to go down the other side. So we're gonna chain up 1 first. We're gonna skip the first one and go to the second over for a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. So there's your 3 that are standing by itself. And now let's go along the bottom section. So we're gonna just immediately chain 1, go to the skip 1, go to the next one and do a complete double crochet. Skip 1, do a complete double crochet. Skip 1, do a complete double crochet. So there is your bottom again. See that? And now we're gonna come up the other side. So we're gonna chain up 1. Okay, we're gonna skip 1, followed by a chain 1, then skip 1, go into the next one for double crochet, followed by a chain 1, skip 1, and do a double crochet, and then chain 1, and then you need to come into the third chain up and you are going to finish this one. So it's going to be a double crochet followed by chain 1 and double crochet into the same stitch. Okay, so you can see it's a repeat and it can move along pretty quickly if you've got your mind set around it. Let's just review row number 3. Let's turn our work and we're going to chain up 4 to begin. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and our first one is in this chain 1 space. Okay, so the next 8 are going to be standing alone. So the first one starts in the first double crochet that you see. So I'm not going to say space or gap anymore. I'm just going to count them. So 1, so come into the next one, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, okay, 7, and 8. And now that I've done that, these 3 are the next ones and those are going to be together this time. So these 3, bring them together as one, so 3 together, double crochets. You'll get your 4 loops on the hook when you've got those all done, and then you pull through. Now you're gonna go up the other side. So you start off in the space here and you do your 8 going up in the other side. So 1, and then the next one's a stitch for 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one is in the double crochet. That's for 8. So the next one is in the chain 3 space. So it's gonna be a double crochet followed by a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet into the same space, and now come down the other side. So we're gonna start off in the double crochet and go down 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that'll take me right to the where the 3 are there, and those 3 are going to be together this time again. It's at the bottom, so bring those together as 3 together double crochets. Get your 4 loops on the hook, bring them together, and then work your way back up. So you're gonna go back up and down just like you did before, and then when you get to the edge, remember what you gotta do. So the first one is in the space. It's gonna be 8 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one is in the double crochet. That's for 8, and in the chain 3 of the 4 you're going to put in a double crochet. It's followed by chain 1 and double crochet, and that was row number 3 all over again. So that's how you're gonna do this particular pattern. You can see it's gonna work out quite nice, and it's a really great feel, and I think it'll be a great home accessory for you. So until next time, this is Ripples in the Sand. This is a crochet afghan featuring the new Bernat Maker Home Dec yarn, and I think that you'll really enjoy working with this particular pattern also with this yarn. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of Yarnspirations as well as the crochetcrowd.com. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.